Hi everyone, Miss Bunny here. Okay, so we're gonna, as you know, we're working on the color wheel. You guys already made a color wheel with the primary colors being yellow, red, and blue. Secondary colors, orange, purple, and green. So in this assignment, we're going to mix our primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, to get purple, orange, and green. We're going to do that using watercolor. So it's going to end up looking something like this, which is a geometric color wheel that we created into an abstract design. So here I have my primary colors, blue, red, and yellow, and then I mixed blue and yellow to make green, blue and red to make purple, and yellow and red to make orange. Then around the color wheel, there are geometric shapes that are monochromatic. Monochromatic meaning that they are shades of the color that is around them. They're not exactly the same, but shades of those colors. So what you're going to do is create a color wheel like this with geometric shapes, and then around it, you're going to create some more geometric shapes with monochromatic colors. So we have primary colors, which is blue, red, and yellow. Secondary colors, which we'll be blending and creating, which is green, purple, and orange. And then monochromatic colors, which are the colors that are around the wheel. Okay? So that's what we'll be doing. You're going to use the color wheel that you've already created as a reference. So everybody's going to get a piece of 9 by 12 watercolor paper. So that's what this is. So we're going to use a pencil, and we're going to draw it light until we get it right. So the first thing we're going to do, since this is 9 inches wide, we're going to find the center, which is at 4.5. 4.5 and 4.5 equal 9. Then I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to do as straight a line as possible. This does not have to be perfect. And go down the center of my page. Notice how light I drew that. Now I'm going to take my line and find the center, which would be 6 inches. And I'm going to draw another line. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I've divided my paper up into 4 equal squares, keeping my pencil as light as possible. Then you have templates on your table, and there's a larger template that says either 7.5 or 8 inches. You're going to take that and you're going to line it up on your lines on your paper. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to trace that onto your paper. Again, keep it light until you get it right so you can erase. We don't have a ton of paper to be making mistakes and getting new paper, okay? So now I have a large circle on my paper. Now I'm going to take the other shapes that are on your table, and maybe you have some templates or you have some stuff to make some circles. You're going to take your templates and you're going to divide your circle up into 6 different squares, 6 different triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to do that. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Just as close as possible. Okay. This bunny doesn't like this line, so I'm going to go ahead and erase and see how easy it is to erase when you keep it light until you get it right. So just for reference, I'm using the triangle in the package that has the curved edge, okay? And I'm just laying it on my paper. This one's a little off. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice I've used the stuff at my table to trace different shapes onto my color wheel. So I have some that are going into the color wheel, some that are all around the color wheel. And that's going to make it most interesting. Okay, so once you have this, then what you're going to do is you're going to tape it to your table. So we don't need a ton of tape. Please don't use a ton of tape. You're just going to take your tape, which there should be 2 rolls at each thing, and you're going to tape it to your work surface. And you're going to want to try to keep that line straight where you put the tape on, because that's where your composition will end and begin. So I'm taping all around, all 4 corners. Whoops. I'm going to try to make this as even as possible right there. I'm going to fix that. So now my paper is taped down. Okay. So we are going to start with the primary colors, which are, again, your primary colors will be red, yellow, and blue. So I'm going to start with red. And let's talk about the watercolors for a minute. Here's your watercolor set. Now, we don't need a lot of water. Too much water is going to make your paper curl, and it's also going to make it so wet that it starts to fall apart. So you do not need a lot of water. Put your brushes in the water and get ready. And when I'm going to start with a nice big brush, and I'm going to use a little bit of water, not too much, okay? And then I'm going to take some paper towel. And I'm going to blot my brush to get rid of some of that water. That way, I'm going to get a better coverage on my paper. So now I'm going to start with my red. This red looks a little pink going on. But we can make it bolder by using a dry brush technique. So my brush is just dry enough that I can get some paint on it. That it'll hold the paint. The drier your brush is, the more opaque the paint will be. What does opaque mean? Opaque means that you can't see through it. Now, because we're using watercolor, you're going to be able to see through it. But notice Miss Bonnet is not using a lot of water. And that red is really light, so I'm going to let it dry for a minute. Put another coat. And I'm really getting some red on there. See how I use the tip of my brush to get in the edges and stuff? There isn't water pooling on here. You don't want water to pool. So there I have red, my first primary color. Okay, now I'm going to skip, and right here, I'm going to do yellow. Okay, so we're going to skip right here, because what is yellow and and red makes orange. So that's what will go right here. So now I'm going to make sure my brush is nice and clean. So when I dab it on here, I don't see any color. Get a little wet. Go into that yellow. Notice, again, I'm not using a lot of water, just enough water to pick up the pigment of the paint. There shouldn't be pools of water all around. So now in this section, we're going to go ahead with the yellow. Your brushes, the more pigment it'll get. Adding more water will not add more pigment. Okay, so there's my yellow. And I'm going to skip a section and do blue. Okay. Again, I'm going to dab to make sure. See, there's a little yellow there. So we are going to make sure that our brush is clean again. Still dirty. Now I'm going to go into the blue. A little too much water. I have my primary colors laid out. Red, yellow, blue. Okay, so now we're going to mix our secondary colors. So red and yellow make orange. So I'm going to come on over here to my paints. And I have a little palette here. All of you guys have a palette at your table. This is what you will mix the paints in. Okay, so again, we don't want too wet of a brush, and we want to make sure our brush is nice and clean. So I'm going to pick up some yellow. I'm going to put it in the palette. Okay. You don't need a lot. A little goes a long way. Then I'm going to use a separate brush to get the red. And now I will mix it with yellow. And looky there, I have some orange. And I didn't make a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more red. You don't have to make a lot to make orange. Now notice how light the color is. It's because there's a lot of water in there. We're going to try another coat. So I'll take a little bit more yellow. A little bit more red. Okay. Now I'm going to clean those brushes. And we're going to mix red and blue to get purple. Again, I want to make sure that my brush is nice and clean. So I'm going to take some of the red. Put it in my palette. Okay. And a little bit of the blue. And purple's going to be the trickiest one. There we go. And we have purple. Okay, so now I'm going to mix yellow and blue. I'm going to take some blue in here. Yellow. A little bit more. All right, so now I'm ready to go in with the green. Okay, so I have my primary and my secondary colors on my piece now. So now I'm going to take and make lighter and darker tones of the same colors that are in there. So for instance, I'm going to use a little dry brush here and take that little dot and we're going to make it a little darker. So that would be a tone of the red. So notice I didn't put a lot of water on here. I made that a little darker, okay? And then perhaps this one right here could be orange. So now you can start to use the rest of your palette, okay? So we don't have to mix it anymore. So I'm going to use some of this orange. And I'm going to go ahead and color this area in. See how that's creating a different tone? Okay, I'm still working monochromatic, so we're still working over here. We'll be working with blues and purples. Okay, once your paper's dry, when you come back the next time, then you're going to use some of your markers, the little markers, to go around some stuff and bring it to life. So I'm still going to stay monochromatic, but I'm going to pick some colors that are in that same tone of color. And I'm just going to highlight some of my shapes by going over them. And there, I have created a geometric color wheel.